The DRUID Code: Magic, Megaliths and Mythology by Thomas Sheridan. Chapter 1, Part 2. According to Liber Gabala Erin, the Book of the Taking of Ireland, the 4 treasures of Ireland were brought to Tara by the Tuatha Dé Danann, or the people of the goddess Danu, which they had collected from their 4 destroyed cities in the Atlantic to the north beyond Ireland, named Felius, Gorias, Phineas, and Morias. Incidentally, the Tuatha Dé Danann used a magical mist to hide themselves as they arrived, and this notion of a magical mist or hidden mysteries is found extensively within Irish heathen and early Christian stories. These 4 treasures, or jewels, included 1. The cauldron of the Dagda, the Dagda being the good god, or the father of all things, or the Eochaid Olothair. He is considered the nourisher of the people, as his cauldron was never emptied. 2. The spear of Lu, Lu being the extremely dynamic god who was known as the Samildanach, which means equally skilled in many arts. He is the god of dexterity and craft. 3. The sword of Nuad. Nuad was the king of the Tooth, and once his sword was unsheathed, then death was certain for any adversary who gazed upon its blade. 4. The stone of Fel. Pictured on the cover of this book, this club-shaped stone would cry out beneath the king who took the sovereignty of Ireland and is located on the hill of Tara in County Meath at the center of what is a ritual landscape or magic circle. Any student of the Tara will be immediately struck by the passing similarity between the 4 treasures of Ireland and the 4 suits of the Lesser Arcana. The similarity does not end there. The stories of the Holy Grail, which were written down and published by Geoffrey of Monmouth from around 1130, also speak of 4 sacred objects, or Grail Hallows, as he termed them. When we connect this knowledge of 4 magical objects to Geoffrey's legend of Merlin being in contact with Druids in Ireland, this then begins to reveal Geoffrey of Monmouth as a far more interesting historical character than had been previously assumed. The unique attributes of his Grail Hallows are as follows. 1. The Holy Grail, identified as the cup used by Jesus Christ at the Last Supper. 2. The Sword of the Spirit, which belonged to King David in the Old Testament. 3. The Holy Lance, a remarkable object in terms of its significance to both European Christianity and Saxon magic. This was a lance said to have been used by a Roman soldier to pierce the side of Christ. 4. The Holy Platter, from which Christ and his disciples feasted on their Last Supper of lamb. These 4 symbols are clearly pre-Christian motifs and almost certainly represent a reworking of the 4 treasures of Ireland in a later guise. We can see how powerful the Irish mythology was in terms of its usefulness towards legitimizing Christianity within the so-called Celtic world. According to the British occultist Alfred Douglas, this may have been a result of the Norman conquest of Britain reaching into Wales in the second half of the 12th century. Eventually, the legends, which were orally spoken in Welsh, were then translated into French as the Conte de Graal. As incredible as it seems, there is no doubt that the 4 treasures of Ireland not only played a major part in the development of and cultural acceptance of Christianity in Europe, but how they also came to be central to the suit marks used on European playing cards, and that of the Lesser Arcana of the Tarot presents a profound mystery indeed. Why 4 and not 5 or 6 or 20? The Grail stories were an ongoing development of the Gnostic religion's concern for men's quest for wisdom, psychological growth, and supreme methods of spiritual emancipation. As we have a good understanding of these particular symbols within both Christianity and European esoteric knowledge, we can safely, both culturally and socially, back engineer these understandings towards the original Druids and maybe even as far back as the megalith builders. The fundamentals of magic are basically the same everywhere and all throughout history. When we hold a tarot deck in our hands today, are we also holding, within its 78 cards, the symbolic representation of the 4 treasures of Ireland brought by the Tuatha De Danann from their mysterious and lost land beyond the waves thousands of years ago? I believe we are, at least in the sense of the treasure being the underlying symbolism with the archetypes on the cards. Add to this the mystery surrounding the origin of tarot, which has never been fully resolved, and we are left with something more than just idle speculation on the matter. That Druids of Ireland weaved a far more complex and far-reaching web throughout European history than they are credited with. Taking this one step further, the question must then be asked: how much of an influence did the Druids have on the development of European spiritual and occult ideas long after the classical period ended? We can safely determine that Irish Druids played an immense part in developing Christianity in Ireland. Did they do the same in Europe later on? We know for a fact that Irish Druids existed as a powerful group known as the Filet and were central to Irish life until September 14, 1607, when they departed Ireland for Europe, along with the exiled Old Irish Gaelic nobility and taking with them an unnamed treasure on their way to Rome. The objects vanished down a ravine below the Devil's Bridge near Andermatt on St. Patrick's Day in 1608, of all days. It has never been recovered and is known as the lost treasure of the St. Gothard Pass. This is a very cryptic story and filled with dates, locations, and circumstances that would make an enjoyable fantasy novel if it was not also true. As far as I have determined, the last official mention of the Irish Druids, then known as the Filet, also happened around this time. We have located a strand in a cable of knowledge, and from this we can work our way backwards and forwards along the central core to reveal more clues to the ancient past. What were the Gaelic lords and their entourage bringing to Rome? Why all the symbolism if it was just an accident or something lost? The legend of the Devil's Bridge itself is that the devil constantly sabotaged the initial construction of the bridge. After the bridge was completed, the devil became a kind of spiritual toll collector from the first man to cross the bridge by demanding his soul as payment. The people instead sent a dog across the bridge which attacked the devil. The sleight of hand so enraged the devil that he picked up a huge boulder to destroy the bridge with. However, a holy man used magic on the devil, and the rock was dropped from the bridge and can still be seen there to this day. This was at the precise same location where the unnamed treasure of the last of the Gaelic lords was lost on St. Patrick's Day 1608, denying the Pope in Rome possible ownership of the mysterious object. Along with the 4 treasures of Ireland, there are the 4 mythological epics of Ireland: the mythological cycle, the Ulster cycle, the Fenian cycle, and the historical cycle. Ireland is still divided into 4 provinces based on their respective ancient kingdoms: Ulster, Munster, Leinster, and Connacht. The people of Partholon is said to have brought with them 4 oxen, which were the first cattle in Ireland, and they then cleared 4 plains on which to graze them. Named derived from Old Irish means noble or holy, and his wife Macha came to Ireland with his 4 sons. There are also 4 quadrants and an Irish Celtic cross, High Celtic cross. The number 4 within ancient Irish society allows us something of an insight into that worldview when we consider the significance of this number in terms of its properties and symbolism. The 4 generally agreed upon ancient capital sites of Ireland are: 1. Dunellen, located in present-day County Kildare, enclosed within a circular site of 32 acres in area, ringed by an earth bank and ditch, or henge as they are known in Britain. The ditch is located on the inside of the circle and would have been pointless for defensive purposes. 2. Emain Macha, Navan Fort. The most significant Druidic site in the north of Ireland and is associated with the goddess Macha, representing war, horses, and freedom, and the Ulaid, from which the province of Ulster derived its name. Emain Macha was one of the great royal sites of pre-Christian Ireland, located in present-day County Armagh. It is one of the most puzzling locations in Ireland and one which St. Patrick took a special interest in, eventually turning it into the ecclesiastical capital of Ireland. It consists of a circular enclosure 250 meters in diameter and formed by a bank and non-defensive ditch, which is again located on the inside of the circumference. 3. Rathcrugan Cruachan, in present-day County Roscommon, and is associated with Queen Meb and mythological epic of the Tain Bo Cuant. It was also from here that Saint Ciaran of Clonmacnoise began his powerful ritualistic and literal transformation from heathenism to Christianity, while in the presence of a sacred cow, which he ritually slaughtered in the Druidic manner, whose hide provided the vellum on which the extremely important Book of Dang Cow was later written. Perhaps the most mystical and at times somewhat unsettling of the four ancient capitals of Ireland, Rathcrogan Cruachan abounds in mythology and legends, and this may explain why the site was mothballed by the Christians, who looked upon the location with a sense of dread and loathing. This enormous site, in and around the present-day village of Tulsk, contains over 200 sites with several circular enclosures, including the spectacular multi-ringed site at Rathborough, which is over 150 meters in diameter. 4. Timhair, the Hill of Tara, the only ancient royal site well known outside of Ireland and among the most important archaeological sites in the country. As with Rathcrogan Cruachan, the location contains a selection of ancient monuments. This includes the seat of Ardri and Nerian, or the High Kings of Ireland. The hilltop complex measures 300 meters north to south by 200 by 200 by 60 meters from east to west, and again with an internal ditch surrounded by an external bank known as Reitna Royak and the Fort of the Kings. There are other sites of lesser or later importance around Ireland, and however the four listed above are the ones that all have an ancient historical and mythological footprint, which accounts for their overall significance within the Irish psyche. Aside from Rathcrogan Cruachan, replaced to a degree by Cashel as the fourth Christian site, the other three locations became active centers of early Christianity in Ireland, either on the sites themselves or were superseded by ecclesiastical infrastructure built adjacent to them. The four great Druidic centers of Ireland were replaced by four great Christian centers, demonstrating just how powerful the old gods and goddesses were in Irish society. The four royal sites of ancient Ireland. All of the following sites have no defensive properties, and even modern academics have had to come to accept that they're dealing with are symbolic circular formations and not defensive structures. It was the Christians who first built defensive walls around holy sites in Ireland, and until recent years, the same assumption has been made of the early heathen sites of similar importance. These pre-Christian enclosures can be seen as very real magic circles, representing the very heart of the tribe as both a sanctified and charged circular space. They are energetic power points from which all the dynamic forces are both focused and distributed from. In many cases, these enclosures are multi-ring structures and not unlike how Plato described the ground plan of Atlantis with the high priest and royalty at the very core of the complex, which radiated outwards as concentric rings. Ireland and Britain are unique in Europe in that these are structures being of such prominence on landscape and existing in such large numbers. 4 points of the cross. The original symbol for the number 4 was a cross, and this was later stylized into the modified version of the 4 we see today. As the cross is among the oldest human symbols on earth, predating Christianity by many thousands of years, it is hardly surprising that it also appears on Irish rock art such as the Bohea stone in County Mayo, where it has been mistaken for being an early Christian cross, even though it is clearly contemporary to the Neolithic rock art surrounding it. The ancient Irish and other Neolithic peoples were also clearly interested in the idea of 4 as many passageways, such as the example at Carrantee at the Lough Crew complex in County Meath, Ireland, which has a floor plan identical to a classic Irish high cross design laying flat on the ground. There are 3 chambers and a passageway radiating from the central chamber. When Christians first arrived in Ireland, it was only a matter of taking this design and erecting it vertically, like a standing stone, to create the classic Celtic cross we know today, with its 4 quadrants elegantly representing the cardinal points of north, south, east, and west. At the center of the Irish high cross, as with the central chamber area of cruciform Neolithic passage chambers, is the focus of symbol, the charged core, the magical circle. This sacred space represents the portal between this world and the next. It is a part of the other world, or the 5th province of the unseen world. The 4 worlds of material reality representing the here and now, with the central 5th space outside of this reality. Once again, similar to the 4 treasures of Ireland, we can see the same idea adopted beyond the confines of early Irish proto-shamanic holy men and women of the Neolithic era, or indeed by the later Druids. The human heart consists of 4 chambers. There are 4 seasons. The totem animal of the ancient Irish and Neolithic era, the cow, has 4 stomachs. There are 4 basic states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma, or ether. There are 4 winds: Boreas, Eurus, Notus, Zephyrus. We have 4 seasons during the year. There are 4 limbs on the human body. In ancient geographic allegory, there are 4 corners to the world. In later religious traditions, the number 4 is very significant. 4 Christian Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The Jewish Tetragrammaton is the 4-letter name of God. In Hinduism, there are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. There are 4 books in Islam: Torah, Zabur, Injil, Quran, and so on. The significance of the number 4 would appear to have its origins well back into the Neolithic and the Irish mythological record, as well as the Vedic system of 4s also points to this. It is worth noting that another possible clue in the tarot is the Magician card in the Major Arcana, which is the first numerical card. The full card is 0 and represents the unconscious mind. The Swiss occultist, artist, and author Oswald Wirth evolved the card's image into that of a magus. The curse of the magician's hat brim is stylized into a symbol for infinity, and on the table in front of the magician, Wirth placed the 4 treasures, cups, coins, swords, as a knife. The 4th item, the baton, the magician holds in his hand as his wand. Although English language translations of his work are difficult to come by, Oswald Wirth was one of the foremost occult historians in Europe, who wrote several highly regarded books on the origins and rituals of Freemasonry. Was he also aware of the 4 treasures of Ireland and, like Geoffrey of Monmouth, somehow aware of the concept and carried it forward by transforming the original gesture of the magician card and thus giving the world back the DRUID?